Are we supposed to be able to hear you?
Okay,
Right.
nope, I was
Okay.
on mute.
Okay.
Sorry, just trying to
That's-
get everything set up. Thank you for your patience.
Is this the one that's recorded and all that?
This is recorded, yeah.
And we are live on
Live,
YouTube.
that's what I
Yeah.
meant.
Doomed from the beginning. But anyway.
We could just bring these for Thursday. If you want to.
Can I get one of each?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put some stuff on Facebook.
You want any of these too? These are nice.
I got most of the stuff posted on the door of the town hall.
Oh, great.
Try to stay current with it.
Two in the chat.
I'm sorry. What's the matter?
You have 2 messages in the chat.
Yeah, those were,
Okay.
all right, everyone can hear us?
Yes.
All you, Scott.
Good. All right, so meeting to order the Wayne County Industrial Development Agency. I get a motion to approve the June 22nd, 2022 meeting minutes.
I'd so move.
Thanks, Phil.
Second.
Thanks, Kay. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Okay, resolution authorizing adjustment to annual pilot payment date.
Um, so in reviewing of pilot agreements more in-house, as we have evolved as a staff, we have noticed that some of our pilots, the due date was off from our actual processing procedure. So what we are doing is just updating the pilot agreements. We did an amendment, 1 page, where the agreeing officer of the customer would sign the document along with Brian, just to update the due date from various months throughout the year to September 30th of every year. This is the way we have been operating. You're just updating the paperwork accordingly.
Need a motion to, okay, can I get a motion to authorize the adjustment?
I'd so move.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, Kay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're to the asterisk.
Asterisk, yeah.
Initial project resolution.
Yep.
Okay, so,
And I did just give you the resolution as well as the application, and I did send it in an email just before the meeting.
Indus is the company developing the site where in Macedon where the KFC is built, and they are under construction on a new hotel that most everyone, I think, probably has heard about. So we've been waiting for their application, received it middle of last week. Katie and I were both out of the office, but spent some time working on this. It is one site to be, not to be subdivided with, so the KFC and the hotel share a parking lot. Their application came with a cover letter. So our, you guys, you know, our typical pilot schedule is 10 years. They have asked for a 20-year pilot. Katie crunched some numbers, just so there's some caveats to this. And so we are, as of January 1st of this year, bound as an IDA to evaluate to some extent and get information from applicants, an evaluation of our total benefits relative to their total project cost. Projects that receive more than 30% in total benefits, including but not exclusive to the IDA, the sum of the IDA's property tax, sales tax, and mortgage recording tax benefits, plus any other state assistance, meaning tax credits or incentives made available through Empire State Development. The sum of all these state level, local, and state incentives, some, if those exceed more than 30% of their total project costs, they have required to comply with prevailing wage and Davis-Bacon requirements. Katie did some estimated math based on estimated tax rates, estimated project costs, et cetera. And at a 10-year pilot schedule, this project approaches 28% incentives compared to their total project costs. That being said, Since I've been here, we have not deviated or provided a pilot longer than 10 years or deviated from our standard pilot incentive schedule. So, at the end of the day, these types of decisions are effectively made at the board on information and advice, if you will, from staff of the industrial development. Like I said, Indus has requested a 20-year pilot based on what they're saying are market pressures, et cetera. All that being said, to be frank, the property is under construction. So
Do you have the history, Brian, of why?
Hang
Before-
on, Pam, hang on.
Pam,
Yes.
was it Pam? I'm sorry. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir.
Do you have any history, Brian, on why we have always done 10-year? If 20-year, it is 20-year an option, and what do other IDAs do?
20 years an option, 15 years an option, 12 years, 14, 13. I mean, effectively, the IDA has its discretion to make pilots on a schedule that they determine to be needed, necessary, or beneficial to advancing a project.
Mhm.
Our standard is 10. Most IDA's standard, quote unquote, is 10. Many of them make 20-year pilots for projects they determine to be important, or some of them, frankly, just make 20-year pilots. I believe this company has a 20-year pilot for a project developed in Hornell, which is that they have a local IDA, so non-county level industrial development agency. And I believe that is the deal that they made with them regarding a similar project in that community.
So if we were to consider 20 years, we would have to develop criteria of why it would be different than what we've done in the past and what we would do going forward.
It opens Pandora's
Yes and
box.
no. Really, so the justification impetus here is not really the term. It's really the use. So hotels are effectively retail uses. If you can walk in and get services in exchange for cash or money that you're giving to someone, that is a retail establishment. So this would in and of itself be a deviation from our uniform tax exempt policy. There are ways to justify provision of a pilot for a project like this by effectively saying that these goods and services are not available in the community as it is, which is true. There's not a hotel
Very true.
capacity. And to Julie's point earlier, in our conversations, at least you might not have heard it, but getting a hotel or hotels, if you will, in Wayne County has been on the list, right? All that being said, IC Electronics corporate headquarters, $28 million, whatever it was. They have a 10-year pilot and are providing, 800 jobs. The hotel job number is
14.
14. So again, all that being said, this question came up in conversations with this developer. And I said, I'm not going to exclude you from requesting whatever you feel is appropriate or necessary, what you would like. Do it in writing and provide it to me, and then we'll bring it to the board and have a discussion. So that's where we are. I did not discourage or encourage. Effectively, I said, he asked, and I said, effectively what I would tell everybody, we don't typically deviate from our pilot schedule. 10 years, 100% for 5 years, 50% for 5. Comparatively speaking, is a pretty generous pilot schedule. Other IDAs, for example, Monroe County's quote unquote 10-year pilot schedule is really a 9-year schedule, because in year 10, you're paying full taxes. Their abatement starts at 90% and then goes down 10% every year. So if you compared a potential property tax payment, a pilot payment on our schedule compared to Monroe County, ours would result in a higher incentive total, simply based on the pilot. Mortgage recording tax and sales tax incentives are effectively the same. But I think I should probably stop there.
Brian, what's their, what's their take on 10 years? I mean, were they like,
Could
if
you
you
have
don't
the
give us
letters
20,
in?
then we're out of here, or?
Do you need
was
the
it that-
letters?
The letters in.
In
here.
their
Oh,
20
it's in
years, what
here.
were they asking for?
That's the
Were
one
they
that's
asking
addressed
for
to me.
100%, 10 years,
They weren't
50%?
specific.
They weren't
term?
specific, they weren't specific to the schedule that we would potentially follow.
So they don't want to talk to us if it's only.
Well, he's
I wouldn't
asking
say
for
that.
a minimum of 20, but I think that, like what you just said, plus, let's just think bigger picture. Building, let's talk about depreciation. They're depreciating this building over a 30-year period, and they don't want to pay taxes for 20 on the property. I mean, that's,
Deb, would you pull up the-
it's
there's a
sticking your fork in a
spreadsheet
little
in,
deep, don't you think?
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's where I was headed too. I don't see the justification, but that's my opinion.
You-
But
I
they're gonna
would,
negotiate.
and John, jump in here if I'm wrong or if I need correcting, but the board could approve offering of a pilot at whatever level the board felt appropriate, right? So just be, if he asked for 20 years, minimum 20 years, it's, no, this is.
That's
this is-
not it.
Yeah, we could do that. I think the last time we deviated went over 10 years, I think was for Garlock. I think we did a 15 or 20-year.
Predates
That's
me.
the last one I recall that we ever did. Those were a lot of jobs.
Oh, so we have done it.
Oh, we.
For Garlock, we
well,
did it.
Garlock's
Yeah,
pilot,
did
there's,
Garlock pay property taxes for 100 years before you gave them a pilot?
there are,
You know what I mean?
there are,
Yeah, exactly.
And
there are
that's
pilots
our
that
job.
are still
A
ongoing
lot of jobs.
with that, well, let's just
Not a
say
lot of jobs.
20 years ago, people were getting very creative with our pilots. And I prefer to be
If you
very
go to the 10-year
standard.
one.
So
it's the-
Deb's pulling up our back of the envelope math here.
Yeah.
So you can see total project cost at the top of 7.6 million. And then some information, we were amount subject to sales tax, the amount of their mortgage, et cetera. And then we're walking through a schedule here. So you'll look at below that, there's the 10 years sort of estimated pro forma with a slight uptick in the mill rates over 10 years. The sum of the property tax rates. This is very similar, by the way, to our cost benefit analysis. So the page down a little, Deb. You can see the additional 5 years tacked on to the schedule there. But you'll see, so 10 total pilot payments, full taxes with no pilot. If you page down some more, page down, where's the sum of the pilot?
The pilot benefits.
There we go. So 2.1 million after fees would effectively be the sum of benefits on the $7.6 million deal. If you go all the way to the bottom, Deb, you'll see the percentage there. Again, back of the envelope, right? But 28.47% incentives compared to their total project cost. If you click on 15 years, all the way down, 38%, see 20 years, 49%. So
And this is
some of
all
this-
approximate, just to let you know.
Yes,
There's
sure.
still some
Yeah,
numbers I
you
need to
have,
get.
just-
so.
tax
just the-
rates and who knows where they're at.
Duration of the pilot.
20 years.
That's 20 years.
And with the prevailing wage, there is an extreme amount of extra reporting, correct?
prevailing wage would trigger work from their contractor, not to mention increase in project costs. So there's some moving parts here. But well, I want to steer your decision making, but consider what we do in the standard sense, what would be necessary to advance the project, what is fair to the project. And we can reply to their request with any sort of offer of incentives that we determine, you as the board determine to be appropriate. Questions? Thoughts? Feel free to discuss among yourselves.
So I'm gonna go back to, I didn't think we did over 10 years, but we did Garlock. How many times have we done more than 10 years? And what was our reasoning?
I was not here when the Garlock pilot was put in place. It is a ridiculously complicated pilot agreement. It's got 2 different payments and factors associated with it.
It's totally an anomaly. of like all of our pilots. It's,
Every
like,
pilot-
Totally different.
Wouldn't John, you were here, weren't you?
John was here.
Yeah, at the time, Garlic was thinking about going to two other states, Texas and some other state. So we were really trying to keep them here because they were comparing the cost of doing business in Texas and this, I forget what other state it was. And it was a lot cheaper than doing business in New York State. So I think the state gave them a bunch of incentives. We gave incentives to try to keep them to stay here.
What were the number of jobs they committed to?
Retention. of-
Or
Retention
retention.
was 500.
Five, okay.
Yeah,
I guess where I'm going with that is what is our bang for
I
that
mean,
buck,
it's just-
right?
Right.
So,
Right.
500 jobs. versus
500
14.
jobs,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
500 jobs versus
Basically,
14
a
for the
lot
hotel.
more than 14,
Right.
Yeah, at the end doesn't justify the means.
Correct.
There's
It just makes me
a
think,
set as
should
well.
we have considered
Absolutely.
longer for IEC? Because I think IEC was a very similar situation, which I think that, I guess what I'm saying is once you deviate from what we do, then it changes the game and we then have to always have that conversation.
Right.
I have no problem sticking with 10 years.
I'm in the same boat, Pam.
That's my thought too. I mean, if it was a 500 or 1,000 job, it's
Yes.
a different boat. you know.
Bob,
Yeah, I think 10 years is enough myself.
Jeannie? Still there?
Jeannie, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Yep, and just to also let you know, this initial resolution obviously is not approving anything. It just identifies that we have received an application. It allows us to go to a public hearing. And it does also allow the executive director to negotiate, but not execute any agreements, but negotiate. So that's sort of why we're bringing this to the table now for discussion, as well as making sure you guys are aware that this initial resolution doesn't necessarily mean we're not taking any action, because we still have further steps to take before we.
Real quick, Jeannie.
And then what I think that the analysis that you created is going to help you in these negotiations. And I want to be really positive in response to this guy. I don't want to come like,
No, I didn't-
come
yeah,
down like we're shutting him down.
Right.
We want to encourage him to proceed. However, show him your numbers and he'll get it, you know what I
Right.
mean? And maybe help him fully understand the benefits that you're putting on the table.
Yeah, and I think,
And if he's
Brian,
already this far along in his project, I don't think he's gonna choke up.
right, and I think also there's definitely some differences. One, since the beginning of 2022, the prevailing wage has taken place. That probably didn't happen with his other experiences with pilots. And as Brian mentioned, each community has different approaches to their pilots and the benefits that come along with it. So by showing him the numbers, I think he'll see that the 10 years is a good program.
And one thing I want to clarify, and this is really important, this prevailing wage thing, because I pulled the specs on Elmer Street. They put Davis-Bacon and county wage rates in the spec book. They're different wage rates. So we need to be very clear with customers whether they're using the federal Davis-Bacon rates or the county prevailing wage rates. We need to be very clear about that. One schedule in the specs and be very clear about that. The Davis-Bacon rates are less. As a matter of fact, we're paying more money for people right now than what Davis-Bacon requires. So it needs to be very clear, this prevailing wage thing.
Right. No, that's a very good point.
I'm excited that this project is happening. I don't want to come across as
Right.
being,
Yeah,
counting, say that these guys are fine. Clearly, you guys are familiar with cost of materials, cost of construction is significantly higher than it has been. I think it's important that we consider and provide benefits to the projects to help support them and move them forward. This is an important project to the town. This is an important project to the county. It's a significant investment on this developer's side who is considering potentially investing additionally in the county, and I want to create a sense of cooperation. And I'm not trying to discourage any thought or consideration of
I
incentives for
don't
this.
think any of us are.
I particularly, you know,
Just
you
feel
guys,
comfortable with the way it is.
I'm standard and transparent. is really the way I want to approach
Right.
most projects. I mean, there are likely considerations or exceptions to the rule, but the more standard and transparent we are, I think it's predictable. There's a certain amount of predictability to the development community relative to anticipated or potential benefits that we can provide. And then we don't get in the process of negotiating, frankly, every pilot agreement that comes to the table.
That's.
Solar is a perfect example. Granted, by the way, our solar pilots are 15 years, not 10. That's because they are already exempt by New York State for 15 years. So we kind of just match the exemption schedule already established by the law in New York. But every solar project, well, not everyone, but a lot of them have attempted to negotiate different pilot schedules or payments, et cetera. And I've told them effectively, no. I mean, we are where we are. And I think it's important that we maintain a certain approach to our provision of benefits for not only for the ease of business, if you will, on our end, but it is a transparent, fair and equitable approach to providing incentives to projects across the country.
Agreed. Anything else?
One follow-up question. In his letter, he mentions the project in Newark.
The initial.
So I would, so you have the resolution. You would effectively be approving the resolution.
Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
I know, I don't think they can, John.
Giving the right terminology here.
So
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna send a chat.
The resolution that you have does not stipulate the specific terms of the pilot agreement. This is effectively just opening the door,
To
saying,
negotiation.
we've reviewed it, and we're
Okay.
approving staff moving forward with the process
my
of bringing a final project resolution.
Correct.
From ourselves.
Yeah,
the board.
so we're not right. So we're not approving 20 years.
No,
Correct,
but-
correct,
Got it.
yes.
But you can give me
You're right.
direction on what you would potentially authorize.
I
Is
think
that
we-
right?
I
Is that-
think
am
we
I saying
have.
that? Okay, John,
I
Yeah.
think you got.
Can you guys hear Pam? Pam had a question.
go ahead.
Can you hear, can you
Oh,
guys? hear
I'm
me?
sorry. So we have this initial project resolution. So the board is authorizing.
No,
staff-
we can hear you.
Okay,
Can
sorry.
can you hear us?
Yes. No.
Okay.
Now we
so
can't,
I-
sorry, this microphone thing is, we're gonna have to. put this on.
That's all right. I
I'm
have
sorry.
a question.
Yes, go ahead.
On the letter, he mentions a project in Newark. And is this application for only Macedon or is it for both?
So they submitted 2 applications. They submitted the same letter for both applications. Both projects are very similar in scope and scale. So their application in Newark is incomplete.
Okay.
On a different
Oh.
timeline than the one in Macedon, frankly. So we're not ready to bring you guys a resolution for the Newark project.
Okay. I saw the words Newark there and I
Yeah.
went, it didn't match what you had verbally indicated.
Yeah, we're trying to advance this project in lieu of some other additional information that we'll need prior to our next board meeting and final board approval, including.
Yeah.
Well, we might be close, but Katie's been doing a great job scrambling at the last minute here. We got this resolution this morning from our Harris Beach attorneys. But considering where they are in the development process here, if you drive down 31, you know what I mean? Trying to help move this forward.
So are we able to to approve a resolution that we're starting the process, but also advise them that we're looking at 10 years so that we can cut to the chase with that?
I believe so. John, you want to confirm that? Oh, you're muted, buddy.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I think we should.
Well, and
Right
so,
up front.
and that's what the resolution says. now therefore be it resolved, in section 4, it says the chairman, vice chairman, executive director, and chief executive officer to serve the agency are hereby authorized and directed to negotiate but not execute certain lease agreements, the pilot agreement, and related documents to undertake street lease transactions. So it allows us to then
Negotiate.
discuss and talk with the applicant about these other aspects. So it's, again, it's not providing any specific timelines or pilot years.
Right. What I don't want to do is make that, by not saying we're not going to consider more than 10, they may believe going into the public hearing that we would consider 20.
Public hearing, prior to the public hearing, we'll have to have finalized our cost benefit analysis,
Yes.
which will include the schedule that we anticipate to bring to the board for approval in or as negotiated with the developer, including the sum of total benefits. And we wouldn't hold that public hearing unless we have faith in what we have evaluated as far as benefits go. Basically, the 10-year pilot study. Making sense, Pam? I probably said that in a very twisted, convoluted way.
And the public hearing, we do ask the applicant, developer, or representative from the organization to attend the public hearing so they are aware of all the materials we're presenting to the public, which includes the cost benefit analysis. So they will be aware of what we are presenting at that point in time.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I got it. They have bank financing 80% of this project. Who is the bank? It's not listed anywhere in this application.
That is correct. I do have some additional questions, and that is one of the questions I do have for them for that bank financing. Yes.
I think it's
Okay.
usually they're estimating more accounting fees than legal fees.
Those accountants.
Silly, silly.
So I ask for a motion to accept this resolution from IHG Group, which just authorizes.
We could accept the motion to approve the resolution.
Okay,
So moved.
thanks. You got Pam?
Who was the second?
Pam and Kate.
Pam.
Okay.
All in favor?
I-
Opposed? Okay, Jamie, you're up.
Bank balances.
Yeah.
Well,
this
we
is
are-
fiscal
we are,
officer
uh,
report.
Ball one.
I'll say, I think we're very well prepared for pilot billing coming up in September 1. So we're a few weeks away from that. And I asked Jamie to do the best she could to get, so you guys just approved this morning our change in payment schedules for the pilots. I think we have all except maybe one or two
Yeah,
out of the 20+ pilot agreements we have. So I'm trying to get our paperwork in house in order pre-September 1. And I think we're doing a great job and we're very well prepared to get that going out. Taxing jurisdictions, schools, towns. Some of you guys are, some of your fiscal officers or whoever's handling the books for you guys have called asking for estimated pilot payments going into September because it affects your budgets and property tax billing, et cetera. So Jamie does a great job in filling those questions. And I think we're doing a very good job communicating with taxing jurisdictions on anticipated revenue, billings, and making sure everything's in order.
so that will be coming up, just to reference that. So we will be receiving, I'm assuming, because the due date is September 30th that we approve, or you approve. And so I'm assuming there will be a couple payments coming in before then. We technically have 30 days in order to pay the taxing jurisdictions. So next month, when you see this report, this bank balance, the checking account will be higher than normal. That's just in the interim phases.
Good. Okay. Any executive director updates or was that it?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, other than when Katie and I continue to, we'll talk and we're scanning the internet and emails about how this review board, the prevailing wage requirements on the IDA side of things plays out. There is not yet a review board in place. There's no FAQ or elaboration on any part of the law. So we are flying blind to an extent, but we're not, us and every other IDA in New York, in the same boat. Lots and lots of legal eyes on all of this across New York, because every IDA has a lawyer or a group of them. And there'll be a lot of discussion, I'm sure, as this thing plays out. We'll see where it goes. That's all I got. I got nothing else.
All right, any other questions, comments, or other business? Next meeting is September 28th. Motion to adjourn.
Anything from you guys online? Sorry. Nods are fine. No.
No, we're good.
Silence is golden.
Yeah,
Oh, by the way, I think the state did extend the law, right, on the open meeting.
Only
Hybrid.
until September 12th. So next month we'll have to wait and see what the governor decides in terms of
she liked attention.
video conferencing and
Boy,
Yes, we recorded too.
Are we recording still?
yes.
That's just me.
Okay,
Uh,
motion to close, did we get that?
Adjourn. Bill first, second, okay, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed.
All right.
Thanks,
Have a great
everyone.
day.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
I don't think I should be sitting up there.
Oh, hang on.
It all goes in.
Yeah, here's what it is. How I roll. I'm not gonna be on the other.